So if you had to choose, and I mean like really, truly had to choose, with absolutely no middle ground whatsoever.
Okay, I'm listening.
Between living inside this blissful, world-altering, magnificent illusion, or facing a dull, painful, just achingly ordinary reality. Like, which one would you actually pick?
Wow. I mean, that is the ultimate human dilemma, isn't it?
It sounds like, one of those late-night dorm room hypotheticals, but when you really sit with it, the implications are actually kind of terrifying.
They really are. Because evolutionarily speaking, we are hardwired to perceive reality accurately enough to just survive.
Right, like knowing the tiger is actually there.
Exactly. We need to know that the cliff edge is real so we don't fall off.
Yeah.
But psychologically, we're fundamentally driven to seek meaning.
To find some kind of significance.
Yeah, and to avoid psychological pain at all costs. I mean, we all want to be the hero of our own story.
Oh, totally. We need that narrative.
Right. And the tension between those two drives, the pursuit of objective truth versus the pursuit of this subjective, magnificent meaning, it's like a major fault line in the human mind.
A fault line waiting to just snap.
Exactly. And when those tectonic plates collide, the earthquake that follows can literally level an entire life.
And, well, that catastrophic collision is exactly what we are plunging into today. So welcome to this deep dive, everyone.
It's a great one today.
It really is. We have a fascinating mission ahead of us. We've got this whole stack of sources summarizing and analyzing a truly profound piece of literature.
Anton Chekhov's 1894 novella, The Black Monk.
Yes. And our goal here isn't just to, recap a story. We are going to unpack the intense philosophical architecture underneath all of it.
Right, we're really digging into the eternal battle between perceived genius and objective madness.
And the desperate human need for control in a totally chaotic world. Plus, ultimately, the terrifying cost of believing you are exceptional.
Which is such a powerful theme. And, it's crucial to understand the lens through which Chekhov wrote this.
Because he wasn't just a writer, right?
Right, exactly. He wasn't merely a literary giant. He was literally a practicing physician.
Oh, wow. I always forget that.
Yeah, so he treated the sick, the dying, and the mentally unraveling on a daily basis. He really saw it all.
So he brings this, clinical, almost surgical precision to his observation of the human mind.
But he pairs it with this immense tragic empathy. He doesn't judge his characters at all.
He just dissects them.
Exactly. He dissects them to show us exactly how their psychological organs are failing.
Okay, so to set the stage for this dissection, we really need to meet our patient, the protagonist of the story.
Right. Andrey Kovrin.
Yeah, Kovrin. He is a master of philosophy, a super dedicated academic who has basically spent his entire life in the pursuit of higher intellectual truths.
But when we first meet him, he is just completely, utterly shattered.
Just burnt out beyond belief. He's suffering from what they call severe nervous exhaustion.
Which was a very common diagnosis back then.
Yeah. So his doctor, who's also a friend of his, basically stages an intervention over a glass of wine.
He tells him, look, your nerves are completely shot.
Right. He says, you need to get out of the city, stop working, go to the country, and just rest.
Just do nothing. So Kovrin packs his bags and travels to this vast rural estate of his former guardian.
This older guy named Yegor Pesotsky.
Which, on the surface, that sounds like the perfect prescription. It's basically the 19th century equivalent of checking into a wellness retreat.
Exactly. Yegor is this renowned Russian horticulturist, and he's running this massive, famous estate.
And he lives there with his daughter, Tanya, who Kovrin has actually known since she was a little girl.
So it sounds incredibly idyllic. You've got old friends, fresh country air, beautiful gardens. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Well, pretty much everything, and it's all because of a fundamental misunderstanding of what burnout actually is.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this feels super relevant.
It really is. And this is where I want to connect this directly to you, the listener, because how often in our modern, hyper-accelerated lives do we try to cure our own deep-seated burnout by just, changing our physical location?
Oh, all the time. We think the city or the office or the endless emails are the actual problem.
Right, so we book the cabin in the woods or we fly to the beach and we demand rest.
We're like, I just need a vacation and I'll be fine.
But the psychological reality is that your geography is not your pathology.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. You pack your anxiety right into your suitcase.
Exactly. You pack your existential dread, your overactive mind. It all comes with you. You cannot out-travel your own central nervous system.
You literally bring your brain with you. And Kovrin brings his exhausted, overclocked brain straight to Borisovka, which is the name of this vast estate.
And just the journey there alone is grueling.
Yeah, the sources say it's a 70-verst ride by horse carriage, which translates to almost 50 miles over rough 19th century country roads.
That sounds exhausting even for a healthy person.
Totally. But the moment he actually arrives, the sources draw our attention to the physical layout of the estate itself.
Right, because it's not just a pretty backdrop. The geography of Yegor's land is actually a profound physical manifestation of the philosophical themes we are about to dive into.
There is this stark, almost violent contrast between two distinct sections of the property.
Chekhov was incredibly deliberate with the spatial arrangement here. So first, we have what is known as the decorative garden.
Which is funny because Yegor, the master of the estate who built all of this, absolutely despises this section.
He hates it. He refers to it as just trifles.
Yeah, and when you read the descriptions of this garden, you really start to understand his contempt.
Because it's not a place of natural beauty at all.
No, it's an eerie, unnatural, deeply unsettling place. Nature isn't allowed to just grow there.
It's forced, pruned, mangled, and tortured into these rigid, artificial human concepts.
It is completely bizarre. Like, there's a pear tree that has been shaped to look precisely like a pyramidal poplar.
Which is so much effort for such a weird result.
Right. And there is an apple tree pruned so aggressively that it looks like a literal umbrella.
It's topiary gone mad. And then there are the plum trees.
Oh yeah, the plum trees. They're arranged, stunted, and cultivated specifically to spell out the year 1868.
Which is the year Yegor started his horticultural enterprise.
It's topiary taken to a level of almost aggressive, tyrannical control over nature.
Philosophically, this decorative garden represents the ultimate illusion of human dominance over the natural world.
Like trying to put nature in a straitjacket.
Exactly. It's the Enlightenment ideal gone entirely wrong. This idea that man can and should impose strict geometric rational order onto the wild chaos of nature.
But the result isn't even beautiful, it just feels lifeless.
It's ghostly. It's basically a parlor trick for human vanity.
The trees aren't even allowed to bear fruit naturally. They exist only to perform a shape for the human eye.
Right. It is perfect control, but it is entirely superficial and completely dead.
But then you step out of that rigid, ghostly garden, and you enter the second section, the commercial orchard.
And this is where Yegor's heart actually beats.
This orchard is massive. We're talking dozens of acres. It's highly profitable, famous across all of Russia, but, and this is the really critical distinction here, it is constantly, terrifyingly at the mercy of the elements.
It is the real world.
Precisely.
If the decorative garden is the illusion of control, the commercial orchard is the chaotic reality of existence.
It's vital, it's deeply productive, it literally sustains their lives and their livelihoods.
But because it is real, it is inherently vulnerable. It generates immense, unceasing anxiety for Yegor.
The sources highlight a scene shortly after Kovrin arrives that perfectly encapsulates this.
Right, the spring frost.
Yeah, it's spring, the fruit trees are in full, glorious bloom, but a sudden overnight frost is predicted.
And a single frost could wipe out the entire year's crop in a matter of hours.
Destroying thousands of rubles and an entire year of agonizing labor just like that.
So what do? Because they don't just sit in the house and hope for the best.
Oh no, what blows my mind is the sheer scale of the reaction. Yegor stays up all night with this army of hired workers.
Right.
And they light massive smudge fires all throughout the dozens of acres of the orchard.
They're burning manure, damp straw, weeds, literally anything that will create this thick, choking, pitch black smoke.
The goal is to create an artificial cloud cover low to the ground to trap the earth's heat and protect the delicate blossoms from the freezing air.
And Kovrin walks out into this orchard at night. And the text describes it like a descent into the underworld.
It's hellish. You have these shadowy figures moving through blinding, suffocating smoke.
The smell is putrid.
Yeah.
Everyone is coughing, exhausted, and just stressed out of their minds.
It's a phenomenological nightmare, honestly.
But a necessary one. And this contrast establishes the philosophical foundation of the whole narrative.
How so?
Well, the decorative garden is the illusion.
Yeah.
Clean, controlled, safe, but ultimately pointless.
While the commercial orchard is reality.
Exactly. It's fruitful, true, and life-giving, but it requires endless, agonizing labor. You're in a state of perpetual jeopardy.
And Yegor lives in that reality. He accepts the choking smoke and the ruined lungs because he loves the real, tangible fruits of his labor.
He accepts the chaos because that's where the actual life is.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I need to push back a little here. Is Yegor really making this profound philosophical choice to embrace reality? Or is he just a businessman desperately trying not to go bankrupt?
That's a fair question.
I mean, any farmer has to worry about the weather. Is it really a noble embrace of the chaos of existence, or is he just trying to protect a financial investment?
It is a very fair pushback, but we have to look at the text. It's not just business for Yegor. The text makes it very clear that the orchard is his entire identity.
Like, beyond just making a living.
Oh, absolutely. It is an obsession that borders on pathology. He doesn't just want the money. He's devoted to the orchard with a religious fervor.
So the orchard is his connection to the life force itself.
Right. But your skepticism points to something crucial. Yegor is grounded in reality, sure, but his grounding is so extreme that it blinds him to everything else.
He's incapable of seeing beyond the dirt and the trees.
Exactly. Which makes him terribly vulnerable to anyone who operates solely in the realm of the intellect, like Kovrin.
Okay, that makes sense. It actually reminds me of a very modern dynamic. Think about the decorative garden again.
The trees shaped like umbrellas and numbers.
Yeah. That is exactly like curating a flawless, hyper-controlled social media aesthetic.
Oh, wow. Yes, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. It's taking the messy reality of a life or a business and pruning it, filtering it until it looks perfectly symmetrical and completely artificial. It's a brand performance.
It's totally fake.
But the commercial orchard, that's the messy, stressful, sleep-depriving reality of actually running the business behind that Instagram account.
Yes. It's the spreadsheets, the panic over supply chains, the 3 a.m. emails wondering if you're going to make payroll.
Exactly. And Yegor despises the Instagram brand of the decorative garden because he knows the brutal truth of the supply chain in the commercial orchard.
A perfect parallel.
Yeah.
But the real tragedy of the story is that Kovrin is about to encounter this exact dichotomy, the perfectly controlled illusion versus the demanding reality.
But not in the physical layout of the estate.
No. Entirely inside his own mind.
And for you listening right now, it is really worth pausing to consider your own life here. Where do you try to force the messiness of nature, like the unpredictable elements of your career or your relationships or your own emotional state, into these rigid, artificial shapes just to feel a false sense of control?
Do you spend more of your energy tending to the decorative garden of how your life appears to others?
Rather than dealing with the choking smoke and the hard, necessary work of the commercial orchard of your actual lived reality?
It's a vital question, because Kovrin arrives at this estate and immediately abandons the commercial orchard of reality. He entirely rejects the smoke and the dirt.
And this transition into illusion begins with his complete inability to do the one thing he actually came there to do. Rest.
Right. His doctor explicitly told him to rest.
But his behavior is completely manic. The sources detail his daily routine, and honestly, it is exhausting just to read about it.
What's he doing?
Well, he sleeps barely a few hours a night. If he accidentally naps for 30 minutes in the afternoon, he's wide awake until dawn.
Classic manic insomnia.
Yeah. And he's drinking wine. He is smoking incredibly strong cigars back to back. He is reading voraciously, taking endless notes. He suddenly decides to study the Italian language just for fun.
As one does during a breakdown.
Right. And he is talking incessantly. He talks to Yegor, he talks to Tanya, he talks to the neighbors. He is vibrating with this feverish, hyperactive energy.
But here's the catch, he feels fantastic.
Exactly. Every nerve in his body feels alive and joyous.
Which is, clinically speaking, a textbook presentation of a manic episode.
Really? Even back then?
Oh, absolutely. In the 19th century, they called it nervous exhaustion or neurasthenia. But Chekhov is describing something much more volatile here.
So he hasn't escaped his exhaustion at all.
Not even a little. His mind is simply masking the profound depletion of his physical reserves with an unsustainable chemical surge of adrenaline and dopamine.
Wow. So his physical body is starving for rest, but his brain is violently refusing to shut down.
It's creating a euphoric smokescreen. And it is in this highly vulnerable, hyper-aroused, sleep-deprived state that a seemingly innocent moment acts as the catalyst for his entire psychological unraveling.
It happens on a very ordinary evening. Guests are visiting the estate. A young neighbor is playing the violin, and Tanya and her friend are singing a famous piece of music.
The Serenade of Braga.
Right. And Kovrin is sitting out on the terrace, smoking, listening intently to the music, trying to parse the Russian lyrics.
The lyrical content of this serenade is the absolute key that unlocks Kovrin's psychosis.
What's the song about?
It tells the story of a young, delusional girl wandering in a garden at night. She hears sounds floating through the air that are so mysterious, so profoundly beautiful and strange, that she decides they cannot be of this world.
So she thinks it's magic.
Basically, she concludes they must be a sacred harmony, a divine frequency that is completely incomprehensible to ordinary mortal humans.
But why does that specific idea hit him so hard? I mean, he's a philosopher. Shouldn't he be analyzing the lyrics, not getting swept away by them?
You'd think so, but it's because of his deep, unacknowledged despair.
Oh, right. The burnout.
Yes, he is a master of philosophy. His entire life's work has been dedicated to seeking higher truths. But what has it gotten him?
Just exhaustion and a sense of profound mediocrity.
Exactly. He is desperately starved for meaning in the mundane reality of academia. And the serenade presents this incredibly seductive alternative.
Like, what if there's a sacred divine harmony?
Right, but you have to be somehow separated from the ordinary herd to hear it. What if madness or delusion is actually the price of admission to divine truth?
Wow. The song plants this idea in his searching mind, and it acts like a spark in a room full of gas.
The reaction is instantaneous.
Literally, the moment the song ends, Kovrin jumps up, totally agitated. He grabs Tanya's arm and starts pacing back and forth.
And he tells her about a legend that has suddenly, inexplicably popped into his head.
He says, I don't know where I read it, or if I heard it, or if I dreamed it, but this legend has been occupying my thoughts all day.
And the legend is incredibly specific.
It really is. He says that 1,000 years ago, a monk dressed entirely in black was walking in the vast deserts of Syria or Arabia, and as he walked, a mirage of the monk appeared over a nearby lake.
But the mirage didn't obey the laws of physics. It didn't just fade away.
No, it reflected up into the upper atmosphere, and then it bounced again, creating another mirage, and another bouncing off the layers of the atmosphere.
It's an incredibly poetic, almost cosmic image.
Yeah, this image of the Black Monk traveled across Africa, over to India, up to the far north, and eventually shot out of the Earth's atmosphere entirely into the vastness of the universe, wandering among the stars for centuries.
It implies a complete departure from the earthly, the physical, the mundane. The monk leaves the dirt and the smoke behind and becomes a creature of the cosmos.
But the crux of the legend, the part that has Kovrin's eyes just blazing as he tells Tanya, is the prophecy attached to it.
Right, the timeline.
Yes. The legend states that exactly 1,000 years after the monk first walked in the desert, the mirage will complete its journey through the universe and return to the Earth's atmosphere. It will manifest itself to humanity once again.
And Kovrin tells Tanya, breathless, those 1,000 years are up.
The return of the Black Monk is imminent. It could happen any day, any hour.
And Tanya's reaction is exactly what you would expect from someone grounded in reality. She is totally unimpressed.
She just thinks it's a weird, slightly creepy story, and she goes back to her evening.
But Kovrin is obsessed. The most telling detail here, which the sources really emphasize, is Kovrin's admission that he genuinely has no idea where this legend came from.
He can't trace it to a book or anything?
No. He cannot trace it to a lecture or a conversation. It has simply materialized, fully formed, and highly detailed in his own mind.
Which means he made it up.
Exactly. This is a profound psychological mechanism at work here.
Because his mind is utterly starved for meaning.
And it's actively rejecting the exhaustion of the ordinary world. So it's actively generating a myth to fill the void.
He is unconsciously preparing the stage, like writing the script for his own psychological escape.
The legend of the Black Monk isn't some suppressed memory. It's a projection. It is the architecture of his impending psychosis being built in real time.
He desperately needs there to be a cosmic, profound event to justify his manic energy, so his mind just conjures one out of thin air.
It really feels like his brain is redlining a car engine.
Yes. You know that feeling when you're driving a manual transmission and you forget to shift gears and you just press the accelerator to the floor?
The engine is just screaming.
Exactly. The tachometer is pinned in the red zone. And for a few terrifying seconds, the car is going incredibly fast, the engine feels incredibly powerful, it's performing brilliantly, right before it literally explodes and melts down.
That is precisely the dynamic. Kovrin thinks he is functioning at a genius level, but he's actually just redlining his own sanity.
The physical body is actively failing. But the subjective experience is one of supreme power and clarity.
And the environment of the estate provides the perfect incubator for this breakdown.
Because the suffocating reality of the commercial orchard repels him, while the eerie unreality of the decorative garden shows him that reality can be warped.
And so the projection inevitably becomes a reality. The legend materializes.
The first encounter. This scene is written with such palpable dread, but also this strange, soaring beauty.
It's a gorgeous piece of writing.
It's evening, the sun is setting, and it's casting this massive, glorious, almost apocalyptic red glow over the entire landscape. Kovrin is walking alone, away from the safety of the estate, down by the river.
He's totally isolated.
He crosses a footbridge and steps into a wide open field of young rye. He feels this immense sense of freedom and space, and he has this thought. He thinks to himself that the whole world is holding its breath, waiting for him to understand it.
Stop right there and notice the monumental ego in that thought.
It's wild, right?
The entire universe is holding its breath, waiting for him. The grandiosity, the megalomania has already taken deep root before he even sees anything.
It is the ultimate main character syndrome.
Truly.
Then a breeze picks up, the pine trees rustle, and suddenly, on the horizon, he sees a dark pillar rising from the earth all the way to the sky.
It looks like a whirlwind or a tornado.
But it's moving with terrifying, impossible speed, racing directly toward him across the field. He's paralyzed for a moment, then throws himself to the side of the path just in time.
And as it rushes past, the whirlwind resolves into a distinct human figure. It's the Black Monk.
The physical description of the monk is highly specific and symbolic. He is an old man, but his face is deathly pale, stark white against his black clothing.
He has sharp black eyebrows and gray hair. He is barefoot, his arms are crossed tightly over his chest, and he does not walk.
He floats entirely above the ground.
As he flies past Kovrin, the monk turns his head and smiles. The sources note that it is a smile that is gentle but simultaneously cunning.
It is the look of someone who knows a profound secret.
The monk then floats across the river, crashes soundlessly into the steep clay bank, passes right through the solid pine trees, and vanishes like smoke.
And Kovrin's reaction is the most disturbing part.
Oh, absolutely.
If a floating, ghostly monk flew past me and phased through a tree, I would scream. I would run back to the house and demand medical attention immediately.
Any rational person would.
But Kovrin, he doesn't scream. He just mutters to himself, so the legend is true. He is absolutely thrilled.
He goes back to the house, and he is literally dancing the mazurka.
Which is this very lively, energetic Polish folk dance that was popular in Russian ballrooms. He is singing, he is laughing.
And he deliberately decides not to tell Tanya or Yegor because he knows they would think he's hallucinating.
But to him, it is a magnificent secret. He is the chosen one. He's the only one who saw it.
This is the critical juncture in his illness. He recognizes on a rational level that it is highly irregular. He knows society would view it as a hallucination.
Right.
But the secondary gain of the hallucination, the overwhelming, intoxicating feeling of being special, chosen, uniquely perceptive, completely overrides his rational faculties.
The hallucination provides exactly what his exhausted, battered ego craves. Cosmic validation.
And this psychological seduction becomes entirely explicit during their second encounter.
Because the monk doesn't just do a flyby the second time, he comes back for a philosophical debate.
Kovrin is sitting in the garden at dusk, listening to the music drifting from the house. And the monk appears from behind the pine trees, completely silently, and sits down on the bench right beside him.
And what follows is just one of the most fascinating dialogues in literature. Kovrin, to his credit, initially tries to hold on to his reason.
He does try.
He looks at the monk and says, "You are a mirage. You are a hallucination. Why are you here? You're supposed to be wandering the universe. This doesn't fit the legend."
And the monk's response is a masterpiece of twisted, seductive, circular logic.
It's so manipulative.
So monk doesn't try to claim he is a physical being. He essentially says, you are correct. The legend, the mirage, me sitting on this bench, we are all products of your overexcited imagination. I am a phantom.
So Kovrin says, so you don't actually exist.
And the monk smiles and delivers his philosophical defense. I exist in your imagination, and since your imagination is a part of nature, I too exist in nature.
Okay, wait, here's where it gets really interesting. I need to challenge this.
Please do.
Because if the monk freely admits he is just a product of Kovrin's subconscious imagination, then literally every single word the monk says after this is just Kovrin flattering himself.
Bingo.
The monk isn't a wise entity. The monk is just a puppet that Kovrin's own ego is operating to tell him exactly what he desperately wants to hear.
It's like a computer virus that hacks the brain's reward center.
Yes. The virus needs the host to survive, so it feeds the host's ego the exact, highly specific validation it craves, keeping the host blissfully infected and totally compliant.
That is exactly the tragedy of it. Kovrin's brilliant, highly educated, philosophical mind is being weaponized against him by his own illness.
It's terrifying.
It really is.
Yeah.
A hallucination is perfectly custom-tailored to his specific intellectual vulnerabilities. An uneducated man might hallucinate a demon or an angel. Kovrin hallucinate a debate partner who speaks the language of 19th century philosophy.
Because what does the monk tell him? He delivers the most intoxicating message imaginable to a burnt-out academic who fears he is mediocre.
He tells Kovrin, "You are one of God's elect."
He says Kovrin's life bears the divine heavenly stamp. He claims that Kovrin is a once-in-a-generation genius destined to serve eternal truth.
The monk creates this incredibly elitist, arrogant dichotomy. He tells Kovrin that the vast majority of humanity is just a herd.
They are ordinary, they're boring, they're obsessed with mundane things like orchards and smudge fires, and their evolutionary progress is agonizingly slow.
But then there are the elect, the geniuses like Kovrin.
The monk says that the geniuses will bypass the slow crawl of history and lead humanity into a brilliant future thousands of years ahead of schedule. He says you will enter the kingdom of eternal truth prematurely.
It is the ultimate ego trip.
It really is. And when Kovrin expresses a fleeting, desperate moment of doubt, when his rational mind surfaces and he says, "But if you are a phantom, then I am mentally ill, I am a madman," what does the monk do?
The monk immediately neutralizes that fear. He doesn't deny the illness, he reframes the illness as a badge of honor.
He points out that healthy, normal people are just the boring herd.
He claims that true genius is inherently inextricably tied to illness and nervous exhaustion. And he name-drops heavy hitters to prove his point.
He mentions Socrates, who famously heard a divine inner voice or demon.
He mentions Diogenes, the philosopher who lived in a barrel and rejected all social norms. He mentions Marcus Aurelius.
He argues that exceptionalism requires a sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your physical health, your normality for the idea.
He literally says, "Do you think the geniuses the world trusts didn't also see phantoms?"
He gives Kovrin a stark choice. If you want to be healthy and normal, go join the herd, go worry about the frost. But if you want to be exceptional, you must accept the illness.
You must embrace the madness as the necessary price of admission to greatness.
This dialogue explores a profound historical concept, right?
Yes, the gray area between inspiration and pathology. Throughout history, and particularly during the Romantic era which preceded Chekhov, there was a strong cultural tendency to fetishize mental illness.
Society equated suffering, deep melancholia, and mental instability with spiritual depth and intellectual superiority. The mad genius trope.
Exactly. The monk's philosophy is a dangerous, lethal rationalization of this trope. He is telling Kovrin that his sickness is actually his superpower.
And Kovrin buys it. Hook, line, and sinker. I mean, how could he not? It cures his burnout instantly.
It takes his exhaustion and gives it cosmic significance.
The monk eventually vanishes, and Kovrin walks back to the house, feeling like a literal god.
His soul is filled with the absolute conviction that he is chosen, that his life has immense, world-altering purpose.
He is willing to sacrifice everything for this perceived greatness, and it is in this state of absolute euphoric delusion that his path collides head-on with the other major obsession happening on the estate.
Yes, we must turn our attention back to Yegor, the master of the commercial orchard.
Right, because while Kovrin is wandering the cosmos in his mind, having debates with phantoms, Yegor is practically having a nervous breakdown over the physical dirt of his land.
Yegor is consumed by a very real, very earthly anxiety about the future of his life's work.
So he pulls Kovrin aside for a very frank, highly uncomfortable conversation.
Yegor's pacing around, pulling his hair, totally stressed out.
He looks at Kovrin and says, "My greatest fear in life is what happens to this place when I die." He loves the orchard more than he loves his own life, more than he loves his daughter.
Which is a whole other issue.
Yeah. He tells Kovrin that the greatest enemy to the orchard isn't the frost or the bugs or the hares eating the bark, it's a stranger.
He is terrified that his daughter Tanya will marry some random young man who doesn't understand horticulture.
Some greedy guy who will just rent the land out or let it go to ruin for a quick profit.
So Yegor looks at Kovrin, a man he helped raise, a man he considers an intellectual success, and practically begs him to step in.
He says, "You are the only person I would trust with Tanya, and more importantly, with the orchard." Yegor essentially proposes the marriage to Kovrin on Tanya's behalf.
What's fascinating here is how two completely different types of madness are converging in this moment.
Yeah, let's look at that.
Yegor's madness is entirely external. It is a manic obsession with the physical orchard, driven by a profound fear of loss and a desperate need to control the future beyond his own death.
While Kovrin's madness is internal, it is an obsession with his own intellectual grandeur, driven by the hallucination of the Black Monk.
And both of these men, completely blinded by their respective obsessions, are about to use Tanya as a bridge to secure their own illusions.
Because right after this conversation, Kovrin, who is still riding the euphoric high of his encounter with the monk, runs into Tanya in the garden.
And he looks at her, and suddenly he feels this boundless, infinite love.
He grabs her, kisses her hands, and proposes to her on the spot. He says, "I am happy. I'm so happy."
But we have to ask.
Right. Is he actually capable of love at this point? He's not really seeing Tanya. He's just seeing the glow of his own manic euphoria overflowing onto the nearest object.
It's all about him.
The way I see it, Kovrin is like a man staring at a beautiful, priceless painting, which is his own perceived genius, and he decides to marry the picture frame, Tanya, and the estate, just because it happens to be holding the picture he's obsessed with.
That is a harsh but deeply accurate assessment.
Yeah.
Neither man is interacting with reality.
Not at all.
Yegor looks at Kovrin and doesn't see a sick man vibrating with manic energy who needs medical intervention. He sees a safe, intellectual heir who will protect the apple trees.
And Kovrin doesn't see Tanya as a complex, independent woman. He sees her as a convenient, pleasant accessory to his newfound divine status.
And Tanya, who is young, sensitive, and desperate for an escape from the endless boredom and stress of the orchard, is swept up in the momentum of these two overpowering men.
And the wedding itself is a perfect, disastrous reflection of this shared delusion. It is chaotic, and it is insanely expensive.
Costing 3,000 rubles, which in the 1890s was an absolute fortune.
It's filled with bad music, crowding, and incredible stress. The text explicitly notes that none of them truly enjoy the wedding because they are all living in a dream.
Yegor is literally splitting his personality during the preparations.
Right. One minute he is his real angry self, yelling at workers about the harvest, tearing his hair out over ruined peaches and weather reports.
And the next minute he adopts this idealized, sentimental, fake persona, bragging to anyone who will listen about how his new son-in-law is a brilliant genius with a master's degree and how his late wife was an angel.
It's pure cognitive dissonance.
It really is. And it forces us to ask a difficult question of ourselves.
Oh, I'm ready.
How often do we make major life decisions, commitments, career changes, marriages, not based on the grounded reality of who we are and who the other person actually is, but based on a temporary high?
Based on a manic phase of enthusiasm or an idealized version of ourselves that we are desperately trying to prop up.
Exactly. The foundation of this marriage is built on two intersecting fantasies. And the immutable law of the universe is that fantasy, eventually, has to collide with reality.
And that collision is brutal. The seasons change. It's no longer the warm, blooming, expansive summer of the country estate.
It is winter, and they are back in the cold, hard, claustrophobic city.
It's 3 a.m. Kovrin is awake, as usual, reading a French novel. Tanya is asleep in the same room. And the Black Monk appears.
The setting shift is crucial here.
Why is that?
Because the illusion has moved from the expansive natural setting of the fields where a mirage might physically occur to the tight, inescapable confines of a city bedroom.
That makes it so much more intense.
Kovrin and the monk are deep in conversation, discussing fame, truth, and happiness. Kovrin tells the monk that he feels an almost frightening, continuous joy.
He says, "I don't know sorrow or boredom. I'm perfectly happy."
But then Tanya wakes up.
And Chekhov suddenly yanks the reader out of Kovrin's subjective reality and slams us right into objective reality.
Tanya wakes up, and she doesn't see a wise floating monk discussing eternal truth.
She sees her husband sitting on the edge of the bed in the middle of the night, talking animatedly to an empty chair.
He is gesturing wildly, his eyes are shining with a terrifying feverish light, and he is laughing strangely at nothing.
She is utterly terrified. She grabs him, crying, shaking, and tells him, "Andrey, there is no one there. You are ill. You are mentally ill."
This is a pivotal moment in philosophical literature. It is the introduction of the gaze of the other, a concept later popularized by existentialists like Sartre.
Right. Up until this very moment, Kovrin's subjective reality was completely unchallenged.
He was isolated in his delusion. To him, his world was beautiful, divine, and purposeful.
But when he looks into Tanya's eyes, he sees his objective reality reflected back at him. And the objective reality is pathetic, terrifying, and deeply sad.
The text says the terror in her eyes transfers to him. He looks at the empty chair, and the illusion shatters.
His legs actually go weak. The physical sensation of the delusion collapsing is visceral.
He realizes, with a wave of sheer, unadulterated dread, that he is a madman. He's not a prophet. He is just a sick man.
Truth, in this specific moment, destroys his happiness entirely.
Objective reality is necessary for survival, but it is devastating to the ego. So they wake up a devastated Yegor, who happens to be staying with them. They dress in the middle of the night, and they immediately take Kovrin to a doctor.
The manic phase is over. The medical treatment begins.
Right.
But I really struggle with this part. Like, wasn't his subjective happiness real to him? I mean, for months, he felt like a god. He experienced pure joy.
Subjectively, yes.
When that shatters, I imagine it like waking up from a really intense, incredibly vivid, lucid dream. In the dream, you are flying. You feel the wind. You feel the freedom. It is the most exhilarating experience of your life.
And then you're jolted awake.
Exactly. You are suddenly jolted awake and you realize you aren't flying. You are sleepwalking and you are standing an inch away from the edge of a very real, very dangerous cliff.
The sudden gravity of reality, the realization of the danger you were in while you thought you were flying. It is absolutely crushing.
It is crushing. And the cure that follows proves to be almost as tragic as the illness itself.
Summer returns. They go back to the estate in the country. Medically speaking, the doctors have succeeded. Kovrin is physically cured.
He has gained weight. He drinks large quantities of milk. He has stopped smoking those strong cigars and drinking wine.
He is forced to work only 2 hours a day. The frantic pacing has stopped, and the Black Monk is completely gone.
He's cured. The doctors won, except he is utterly, profoundly miserable.
The sources describe his perspective, and it is heartbreaking. He walks through the exact same gardens, but the world looks dead to him.
The pine trees, which used to whisper secrets of the cosmos to him, are now just mute, dumb wood. The magic has been violently drained from the universe.
He feels sluggish, bored, and completely ordinary. And we have to understand the medical context here to know why.
What was the cure in the 1890s?
The text specifically mentions he is treated with potassium bromide, which was a heavy sedative and anticonvulsant widely used in the 19th century to treat nervous disorders.
It didn't cure the underlying psychological issues, did it?
Not at all. It merely depressed the central nervous system. It dulled everything. It caused severe lethargy, depression, and a complete dampening of the intellect. The cure for his mania was chemically induced numbness.
And this chemically induced misery rapidly curdles into intense anger and resentment. He explodes at Tanya and Yegor. He shouts at them, asking the most agonizing question, "Why did you cure me?"
He argues passionately that his delusions of grandeur made him interesting, original, and supremely happy. Now he says, I am just ordinary. I am like everyone else.
He feels he's been robbed of his soul.
He makes a wild, sweeping philosophical argument. He says, think about Buddha, think about Muhammad, think about Shakespeare. It's a good thing their relatives didn't drag them to a doctor and cure them of their ecstasy and inspiration with potassium bromide.
Wow. He literally claims that the medical establishment, by curing genius and forcing exceptional people into dull normality, will eventually destroy human civilization.
This raises an important question, though. Does society pathologize greatness?
Kovrin is posing a dangerous but compelling argument that the absolute peaks of human achievement, the paradigm-shifting leaps forward in art, philosophy, and religion, require a departure from normal, balanced mental health.
Chekhov forces us to weigh two opposing values. On one side, the value of an ordinary, balanced, healthy life integrated with society and family.
On the other side, the destructive, blazing, uncontrolled fire of perceived genius. Is the fire worth the ash it leaves behind?
But before we buy into Kovrin's argument, we must look at the crucial, devastating irony that Chekhov embeds in the text.
Oh, I love this part.
Kovrin believes he is a silence genius. He believes that potassium bromide robbed the world of his brilliant insights.
But the text explicitly reveals that when Kovrin looks back at the academic articles he wrote during his manic phase, the work he thought was divinely inspired by the monk, he realizes it is garbage.
Complete nonsense.
The articles are incredibly boring, unoriginal, mediocre, and full of weird, pompous claims.
Yes, the genius was entirely subjective. It only existed in his own mind.
It's exactly like someone taking a powerful hallucinogen. They are tripping, and they suddenly believe they have discovered the unified theory of the universe, the absolute meaning of life.
Right, they furiously write it down.
They frantically scribble it down on a napkin. They feel like Einstein. Then they sober up the next day, look at the napkin, and realize they just wrote, "The banana is the clock," in squiggly letters.
The delusion was the only place his genius existed. He wasn't a silenced Shakespeare. He was just an exhausted, sick professor writing bad papers.
But the loss of the feeling of genius is what destroys him.
And that profound resentment destroys all of his relationships. He cannot forgive Tanya or Yegor for bringing him back to reality.
He treats Yegor, the man who loved him like a son, with cold, mocking cruelty, which deeply wounds the old man.
He treats Tanya with outright contempt. In a moment of terrible cruelty, he calls them both Egyptians, comparing them to slave masters and himself to their captive.
He views his physical health and his marriage as a prison.
He is physically healthy, but his soul is decaying from bitterness, which leads us to the final act of this tragedy.
A couple of years pass. Kovrin actually manages to get an independent professorship. But on the very day he is supposed to deliver his first lecture, his physical body finally gives out entirely.
He suffers a massive hemorrhage from his throat. He has tuberculosis.
The inclusion of tuberculosis is profoundly significant here.
It really is. In the 19th century, tuberculosis was known as consumption because it literally consumed the body from the inside out, wasting the patient away.
And Chekhov himself suffered from tuberculosis for years, and it eventually killed him at the age of 44.
Right. By giving Kovrin his own fatal disease, Chekhov is drawing a brutal parallel. Just as Kovrin's manic delusion consumed his grip on reality and his relationships, the physical disease is now consuming his actual flesh.
The illness that the monk predicted would take his life in service of the idea is actually just a mundane, brutal, biological disease taking his life for no reason at all.
He is now separated from Tanya. He is living with another woman, Varvara Nikolaevna, who acts more like a nurse to him than a romantic partner.
They travel to Yalta in the Crimea, hoping the sea air will help his bleeding lungs. And it is here, in a hotel room, that the past finally catches up to him.
In the form of a letter from Tanya.
The contents of this letter are absolute scorched earth. Tanya writes to tell him that Yegor is dead.
He died of a broken heart, of profound grief over the destruction of his family.
And the beloved commercial orchard, Yegor's life's work, the thing he tried to protect by marrying her to Kovrin, it has been sold to strangers and is going to ruin.
Exactly. Precisely what Yegor feared most has come to pass. And it happened because he trusted Kovrin.
Tanya's letter curses Kovrin. She writes, "I thought you were a genius, but you were just a destructive madman."
The objective reality of his actions is laid completely bare. There's no hiding from it anymore.
Consumed by a terrifying mix of guilt and fear, Kovrin tries to distract himself. He turns to the one thing he always turned to, his academic work.
He picks up a compilation he was working on. But without the manic energy, without the delusion, he finally sees the truth clearly.
He realizes, deeply and irrevocably, that he is a totally ordinary man. He realizes he has wasted 15 years of his life studying and writing to produce absolutely nothing of lasting value.
In an act of final despair, he tears up his dissertation and throws the pieces out the window, watching them flutter away in the sea breeze.
He has lost everything. He has lost his illusion of genius, he has lost his family, he has destroyed his life's work, and now his health is failing him fatally.
And then, at the absolute nadir of his existence, he hears it.
From a floor below in the hotel, someone is playing the violin and singing. It's the Serenade of Braga.
The exact same song that planted the seed of the Sacred Harmony years ago at the estate.
His anxiety peaks. He steps out onto the balcony, looking out over the beautiful dark bay of Yalta, and suddenly, materializing across the water, the Black Monk appears.
The illusion returns at the exact moment. His reality becomes unbearable. The mind deploys its final, fatal defense mechanism.
The monk floats toward him across the bay, enters the balcony, and gently scolds him. The monk says, "Why didn't you believe me? If you had just believed me when I told you that you were a genius, you wouldn't have spent the last 2 years so miserably."
And as the monk speaks, Kovrin suffers a massive, fatal hemorrhage.
Blood pours from his throat onto his chest. He falls to the floor, and in his final moments, what does he do? He calls out.
But he doesn't call out to eternal truth. He doesn't call out for philosophy or genius.
He calls out for Tanya. He calls out for the blooming orchard. He calls out for his lost youth and for life itself, the very ordinary, beautiful, messy reality he rejected.
But he is unable to speak. The blood chokes him. And yet the text tells us that as he dies, an indescribable, infinite happiness fills his entire being.
A sweet, blissful smile spreads across his face, because in his final fading consciousness, the Black Monk is leaning over him, whispering that he's a genius, that he is one of the elect.
I look at that final smile and I wonder, is it a victory or a defeat?
I compare it to a man dying of thirst in the desert who finally sees a mirage of a lake. He throws himself on the ground, and as he dies, he smiles, because he truly believes he is drinking cool, fresh water.
But in reality, he is just swallowing dry sand.
The happiness is completely real in his mind, but the objective reality is entirely tragic.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see the ultimate tragedy. Kovrin pays the absolute maximum price for his illusion.
He got what he wanted. He died feeling like a god.
But the cost of his subjective infinite happiness and death was the objective destruction of everything around him in life.
He destroyed the orchard, he destroyed Yegor's life, he destroyed Tanya's sanity and happiness, and he destroyed his own physical body.
The illusion required absolute sacrifice, and it took everything.
It is a devastating ending. We have journeyed with Andrey Kovrin from the choking smoke of the commercial orchard to the cosmic heights of the Black Monk's promises, and finally to a blood-stained hotel floor in Yalta.
We've witnessed the eternal clash between a blissful delusion and a painful, demanding reality.
And as we close this deep dive, I want to turn directly to you, the listener, with a final thought to ponder.
We live in a modern world that sounds a lot like the Black Monk's whispers. We're constantly encouraged by algorithms, by hustle culture, by our own egos to be exceptional, to rise above the herd, to hack our minds for ultimate productivity, and to view an ordinary, quiet life as a failure.
But Chekhov's The Black Monk forces us to ask a chilling question. If becoming exceptional requires you to lose your connection to the ordinary, messy, beautiful, demanding reality of the people who actually love you, is the illusion of greatness really worth the cost of your humanity?
Something to mull over the next time you hear a seductive whisper telling you that you are meant for more than the ordinary world.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll leave you here on the balcony to decide for yourself.